Welcome back to Smart Life. I'm Dr. Gina. How many of you think that politicians in Washington, D.C. aren't being paid enough? That's not a gripe we hear very often. And what would you say if congressmen raised their pay to $1 million a year? Well, Rusty Humphries out of the Washington Times has proposed just that, and he's here with us today on Smart Life. Rusty, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Gina. How you doing?
Well, I think you may have lost your mind now, so I've got to investigate this. Is this kind of like Amazon paying their employees now $5,000 to not let the door hit them in the backside? Rusty, why would you want to give these already bloated pockets of politicians in Washington, D.C. $1 million?
Oh, you're looking at it the wrong way, Gina. See, here's what I would suggest. I would suggest, yes, we're going to give them $1 million a year, but they can never name another bridge, another post office, nothing after themselves ever again. Also, the whole deal of making it illegal for, or actually it's legal for them to have insider trading. We get rid of those two things, then heck, $535 million a year, we're getting off easy.
It would take our costs down then, right?
That's right.
So you're not talking about putting it in their pocket. You're talking about to take back to their districts. They get $1 million. That's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that'd be their pay. I mean, you don't get insider trading. Well, maybe you do, but I don't get legal insider trading. And I also don't get to name bridges and roads after myself. Take a look at Robert Byrd, how many roads, businesses, buildings, schools that were named after Robert Byrd in his state. So I say we'd save a whole bunch of money just giving them $1 million a year and saying enough.
But there is like no way, I think you would admit, there's probably no way this would actually happen. And why is that?
Oh, because they're egomaniacs. Simple as that. And of course, they get paid a lot more money than just $1 million a year. When you can have that legal insider trading, there's a lot of sweet deals you can make.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, I think it's a good idea. Have you had any attention from this from anyone who could make this happen?
No, it's never going to happen, so I'm not even wasting my time. It was just a column at the Washington Times.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I want to move on because you make another really bold statement. You say that Rand Paul has a secret weapon, and it isn't who we might think.
Well, Rand Paul could do very well if Hillary Clinton is the nominee. She's not she's beloved by everybody in the Democrat Party. And also, Rand Paul is a guy that reaches across a lot of different boundaries. And so he could make a very interesting shot running for president.
So how does that work out for him? How is he contrasted then with Hillary? What does that make Rand Paul, I guess, really somebody that the left is fearing right now?
Yeah, well, the thing about Hillary is you either like her or you don't like her. And there's a lot of people that don't want the Clintons back in control of the Democrat Party. Heck, if I was a Democrat, I wouldn't want it. There's a lot of scandals. There's a lot of dirt underneath those sheets. And I'm very curious, for example, on what's going to happen with Benghazi. Her name is linked to this, as we all know. There's a lot of stories coming out, and who knows what stupid things Bill Clinton's going to pull out in that campaign.
So how do you see this presidential landscape lining up as we're looking ahead? People are definitely starting to posture. Now we've seen some activity out of Jeb Bush. Finally, I wondered if he was really still out there, if the party was just going to run him without a body. I wasn't sure. What's your prediction coming up?
Well, Chris Christie's running because that guy's lost weight. So he's going to try. He's going to try to run, although I'm not a fan. And by the way, I thought we left King George so we didn't have dynasties, families that run our country. I'm sorry, we've had plenty of Bushes. No more Bushes. I don't care if Jeb Bush is great, and I was a resident of Florida when he was governor. He was pretty good, but enough's enough. Rand Paul looks good. Ted Cruz looks good. The problem is that senators never do a good job as president of the United States.
Senators never do a good job, but you're not saying they're not electable.
They can be elected. They just don't do a very good job. Here's the deal. First of all, House of Representative members never get elected. One time, I believe it was Millard Fillmore was the only congressman that ever got elected. But senators, why is it that they're not as strong? Well, they're one of 100, and all they do is vote. And when they're done voting, they can move on and they can vote for something and then vote against the same thing. They don't have to govern by those things they vote for. A guy who's a businessman or a governor, they actually have to live with those decisions. And that's why somebody with more of a leadership ability than a senator usually does a better job.
So who's the Rusty Humphries pick?
Man, it's too early. Too many stupid people out there can do stupid things. But I mean, there's I like Senator Walker right now. But who knows, if he does something stupid. But so far, he's a good dude.
You mean Governor Walker?
Governor Walker,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, because he has held that executive capacity, and you think that's really important. Yeah, my husband always says that they have to have held a statewide race, and that they will be more popular once elected if they've served in that capacity, in that executive
Correct. And there's
capacity.
great good businessmen. For example, I like Dr. Ben Carson, but I don't know. I mean, when was the last time we had a guy that went, from no political experience to the presidency? It could be good, but I just don't know that it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's there's a lot that goes into it. I think for people who haven't been inside politics, it's hard for them to understand. And you've been watching politics as an observer for a lot of years, and so you do have
I mean, not that many.
Just
trying
like
to say that I'm like this old guy now.
I did not say that. I wouldn't say that. All right. So you say that Attorney General Eric Holder is a bully. You called him a bully. I'm sure you got some nice hate mail about that, but tell us why.
Well, we've started a new thing at the Washington Times, the Liberal Bully of the Week. And last week it was Eric Holder because of his stance on, well, a number of different things. But last week it was, hey, we need to make it illegal for you to own a gun without a bracelet on. And we're going to just start forcing, again, they selectively enforce laws and selectively not enforce laws. And they're not following the law. They're just kind of doing what they feel like. And they tend to do it with very heavy hands instead of trying to be, good judicial people.
You've traveled a lot internationally, more than most people in our sort of profession, in our circles. Tell us your perspective right now on what's happening in Russia.
People are going to say bad things about me here. I actually think that we may be wrong here, believe it or not. I've got some friends who live in Europe and who actually were CIA guys, and some other friends that know a lot about what it's over there. And they're telling me that this is something that Putin has to do. It is one of the only seaports into the Black Sea for Russia. And for us to get in there and say, no, you can't do that, would be like us having somebody say, nah, you can't use San Francisco Bay. Sorry. So I need to look into it a little bit more. I think that we may be overreacting a little bit.
I don't know. I hear about exiling pastors, that they are literally doing that now, that they have pulled the passports of many of the missionaries over there so that
certainly
they
that's
can't
not
leave.
Right. Yeah, certainly that's not.
It sounds like something's really fishy going on there. And certainly, though he talks tough, Obama hasn't really taken a very tough stand against Putin, and I just was curious because I know you have so much more. You've traveled to a lot of these places, and so I thought you might have some more insight.
The only people I know that Obama's been tough with are ranchers in Nevada.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the ranchers in Nevada, I want to ask you this, Rusty. What do you think is the impetus to this reaction? I immediately, what came to my mind as the reason people got so passionate about this that they literally took up their arms and went to Nevada to defend this guy is sort of that patriotic American love for the farmer, the rancher, maybe perhaps even more so than for the small business person who we know has been attacked by the jackbooted types before. So what is it about this incident that really separates it, do you think?
I think some of the places is misguided, unfortunately, but you got to understand Nevada. I lived in Nevada for a long time. Nevada is owned 89%.
No, Rusty, we're not talking about how much you gamble. This is about ranchers, not gambling.
Yes. No, I lived in Nevada for quite a while, and actually did some politics there. Ran for United States Senate for a little while. And
you did?
That's
I didn't know
story.
this. You learn something new all the time.
It's a long story. Anyway, but Nevada's owned 89% by the federal government, and it's out of control. The BLM has been for years and years very, very heavy-handed in their enforcement of rules. Just, there's people that use that land, and there's nothing there in this land. People use it, for example, for motorcycles or dirt bikes, and just one day they'll close it down. Sorry, you can't go there anymore. Well, what are you talking about, guys? Well, sorry, you just can't do it anymore. This thing with the rancher, they handled it absolutely wrong. But for the rancher to say, I don't recognize the U.S. government and I don't know who they is. Okay, you're an idiot, dumbass. Of course there's a U.S. government and you pay the grazing fees. shut up and move on.
But if he pays the grazing fees, there are some pretty heavy strings attached to that, something we've been discussing on the show. We're going to keep discussing it. There used to be something like 53 people with these grazing rights. Now there are like 3. So the government is encroaching. Plus, you've got the whole issue of the solar panels and the deal that apparently Harry Reid has cut with China. So we're going to be talking about that more here on Smart Life. But Rusty, first, tell us where we can find you.
Okay, the best place to find me is at the Washington Times. Go to the community section, and the Rusty Humphries Rebellion is there. Go check it out.
Awesome. Rusty, thanks so much for being with us.